Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
So I just saw a headline on the internet that I feel like is a made for internet outrage headline. This headline is Deshaun Watson takes Shedeur Sanders under his wing. And look, I think a lot of people are reacting to this headline, not earnestly, not seriously concerned, but knowing that this is a great opportunity to get some jokes off, right? Like there is a lot of that going on. I don't want to act like everybody reacting to this story is taking it seriously or one way or the other. I think a lot of people are using this as an opportunity to get some jokes off. But also, there is some concern about what is Deshaun Watson's role really going to be with this team going forward, right? Like a lot of us understand because he's not physically able to play, Deshaun is not really a threat to affect the team on field this year. But there is that looming threat, and it's sad that we have to talk about it. Players paid $45 million a year, $230 million guaranteed over 5 years. And we're talking about him being healthy as a threat to the team. But, like, let's be real about it. If he's anything like we saw the last 2 years, or like you would expect after 2 Achilles tears, he'd be much worse than he was in 2024. And it'd be hard to be much worse than he was in 2024. Again, success percentage, he was 46 out of 47 quarterbacks. The only guy who was lower than was Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So that being the case, I get people are afraid of Deshaun Watson ever having to play again or Deshaun Watson building up enough credibility within the locker room to where people can believe he can play again. Basically, we all want to be in a place by the end of this season where we're not, the lights come on at the club and we looking at Deshaun like maybe we could start Deshaun. Like maybe we could go back to that, right? We all want to avoid that situation. And I think anytime Deshaun's name gets brought up, there is a segment of people who feel like that's a problem. There's a segment of people, not a large segment, but a segment of people who hear Deshaun is taking Shedeur under his wing and they think it's a good thing, right? I think it's just a thing. I don't think it's positive inherently. I also don't think it's inherently negative either. I just see it as part of what's necessary for what Deshaun Watson has to do if he wants any chance of staying in the league after his Cleveland Browns contract is up. Let me explain what I mean, because like if we really talk about the future of Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, there's not really one there. So if you're thinking about this and you're thinking about this from Deshaun Watson's perspective, and allow me to try to look at this from within his shoes, how is it that you stay in the league? Now, it might be the case that Deshaun has not come to earth and he still thinks that he's going to be viewed as Deshaun Watson, the same way he was viewed as Deshaun Watson in 2022. But I think now reality has set in a little bit, right? He understands that his chance to get another opportunity not really gonna be what it was or what he thinks it should be. And I think what he understands, what some in the media understand, and where there is a beneficial relationship, and what the Cleveland Browns understand, right? And you have that trifecta of people with benefits, Deshaun Watson, the media, and the Cleveland Browns, is that it's probably better if the public views Deshaun Watson as a useful mentor while he is being held hostage on this roster, essentially, right? There is nowhere Deshaun Watson is going to be able to go this year or next year, more than likely. There's nothing the Browns can really do about his contract until a couple of years from now, or I think after this season. And the Browns would probably prefer to string this thing out from a salary cap perspective as long as possible. That means that there's going to have to be an adjustment here on how this whole thing is presented, right? When Deshaun first came here, he was presented as the franchise savior. He clearly never lived up to that, never came close to it. But now he has to present this in a different way. And what he has to present this as is somebody who could be a useful member of your quarterback room, somebody who has experience that is useful for your quarterback room. Now, there's a whole nother aspect to this that is beyond the scope of this video, but I will touch on it for a quick second here. In order for some of the experiences Deshaun Watson has had to be useful to a young quarterback, especially the stuff that pertains to what you do and don't want to do off the field, it requires Deshaun Watson to have accepted responsibility in some way, shape, or form of what he has been accused of off the field. Now, as far as I know, he's not there. He's not ever been there. So I don't know how much he's going to be able to offer when it comes to that, being able to avoid it if he doesn't even think that it's something that he could have avoided himself, right? Or he could have stayed out of, or he had any responsibility in whatsoever. Doesn't seem like he's made that connection. If he hasn't, then he could be useful, but that a lot of that's determined on that. And I think the only people who are really going to know the answer to that are going to be Deshaun Watson and the people close to him. But that's a elephant in the room, right? If we're talking about Deshaun Watson being able to help somebody avoid situations off the field. Well, we got to see what he about the big elephant in the room for him and how he's handled that within the people that he knows, because there's a good chance that he could just come off as a giant hypocrite. So, like, I don't know how helpful he's going to be with that. There is stuff in the quarterback room that Deshaun Watson is probably helpful with. I mean, this is somebody who was very successful in the NFL at one point in time, and I assume retains some information that can help people be successful. Like, I don't think the problem that Deshaun has been that he doesn't retain the football information that he once had. Is that he cannot apply it with the speed that he needs to be effective in game, right? It might be a situation where he might be more useful as a backup, as a guy in the quarterback room, a quasi coach, than a player, because his ability to perform these concepts is not there, but he still mentally probably has the ability to understand it. It's not an all bad thing. There's a lot of stuff that Deshaun Watson can be helpful with, right? I know a lot of people think Deshaun Watson is like dumb because of how he played last year. I don't think that's really a representation of if he's football smart or not. I think he's always been a pretty football smart guy. He was lauded when he was in Houston for his football smarts. Now, his ability to apply that information in real time and then tie it up with the physical, it's not there anymore, right? In the same way that it's not there for anybody who's cooked or past their prime, right? The mental stuff's still there, but the ability to do it in real time isn't. And yeah, he can't play anymore at a high level, but he might be able to give some pointers, give some tips there. There are some things Deshaun has always struggled with, but I mean, you look at any quarterback coach in the NFL and you look at their pro career, it's a much worse pro career than Deshaun Watson had, right? Like, we can look at, if the Browns brought in Case Keenum, we could look at him and be like, oh, that's a perfect mentor for X, Y, and Z. And you look at Deshaun's career, is much better than Case Keenum's, right? So saying that Deshaun can't offer anything mentally of value, I think is a little silly, especially when it comes to the football field. And I think that's where he's going to have his path to stay on an NFL roster, right? If you're Deshaun Watson, it benefits you to push yourself as a mentor, to push yourself as a great teammate, somebody who could take the step aside and help others get better, because that makes you a less toxic asset to an NFL team. Right now, Deshaun Watson is a toxic asset to an NFL team. If he were released today, he's not going to have a chance to stick. But if he spends the next 2 years really pushing this, I'm a helpful mentor narrative, right? I'm an extra coach narrative. I'm willing to take the step back. Then you might get to a place where a coach feels like somebody like him can help their team. It's not super likely, but it is a path that can be followed and has been followed. Think about it like Mike Vick. Now, again, Mike Vick was much more apologetic about what he got in trouble with off the field than Deshaun Watson was. But if we just look at this from an on the field perspective and in the building perspective of what Mike Vick was doing, it's very similar to what Deshaun is at least signaling that he's attempting to do here, right? I'm willing to take the step back. I'm willing to be the mentor. I'm willing to be the guy that you can learn from. That is very much what they want to push Deshaun Watson as being. He could be doing a lot of mentor stuff. He could not. But Deshaun is probably looking at that as an opportunity to make sure that he's still somebody that teams feel like they can have on the team and be positive towards that team's ability to win games. And I can see where that benefits Deshaun Watson. If you're looking at this from a media perspective, the redemption story of the former star who is putting his ego aside and willing to mentor the next generation is always a great article to write. Always somebody fun you can get quotes to, right? Could lead to Deshaun Watson getting into the media as a media member, which I'm not. I mean, he's tried to, right? He's had the podcast and everything else. So, that could be a little angle there where it benefits the media, benefits Deshaun as well. And then where it benefits the Browns is that if people can look at Deshaun and think that he did anything positive for this team, for his future success, I mean, you'll take it because right now he's just a negative. This is why I think a lot of this stuff is more or less angling. I'm not saying that Deshaun is not helping Shedeur. He probably is, right? Like every other quarterback in that room is helping Shedeur, right? In the same capacity that Joe Flacco is helping Shedeur. I bet that Deshaun is spending a lot of his time trying to help Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel, right? I would hope that they're helping Dylan too, right? Because whenever we hear these stories, it's like the only guy they're able to help is Shedeur, and they're just like, get away, Kenny. Get away, Dylan. But I imagine they're helping Dylan or they're also helping Kenny. It would be a massive red flag to me, though, if he was only helping Shedeur. Because if he's only helping Shedeur, then this has nothing to do with the team. And you're like, oh, you're trying to hit your hook onto the Shedeur clout, right? Like that feels like a kind of transparent move here. But I assume that he's not that transparent in what he's doing and that he is helping everybody in that quarterback room, just because it'd be more inconvenient to not help everybody in that quarterback room when you're in the same room as everybody, right? So I imagine he's helping everybody else too, or at least doing what he can to offer something to help folks. But yeah, I saw that headline. It gave me a laugh. I saw some of the jokes people were getting off, and I thought it was funny. But it's worth having a real conversation. Like, hey, what is Deshaun Watson going to spend the next 2 years doing? And in my opinion, Deshaun Watson is going to spend the next 2 years trying to market himself as a big brother figure, as a mentor to the youth, in some way, shape, or form, in order to make him more rosterable to other NFL teams when his contract with Cleveland is inevitably up, because it's going to be up soon. So that's what I think's going on, is he's making that push because he understands his future is not in playing football anymore. And there's some work that needs to be done if he wants to stay in the league, and his future isn't about starting. But y'all let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.